It so happens with David Warner that whenever you start having doubts on him, he turns it around and score runs.
Very keen to see which all-rounder they pick from that lottery or the bag of tricks that they have. अच्छा आग बंद करके okay, आज turn is okay, today green, okay, today this guy.
Batting seems to be their strongest suit. In that, their batters are more informed than their bowlers are.
Had Maxwell not been available, I would have said that Australia making the semis could be a huge question mark.
So we'll start with Australia because, look, in a week's time, it's going to be India-Australia in Chennai, and it's going to be a riveting game, that one already. And what's making the news from an Australian perspective, we'll get there straight up, because I know that they had a decent game, or an outing, if you want to call it, in Tremandam against Netherlands. But Marnus Labuschagne, replacing Ashnagar, has been dominating their particular camp. And rightly so, because what he's done since he's kind of come back into the ODS scheme of things, we've already spoken about it in various cricket.com shows, his 80, his 124, and of course, he got a 50 as well in that series against India. But what I want to ask the boys, for starters, Australia literally win it all the goddamn time, at least in our generation. Will they do it again, Nikhil Popat? And if you say yes, wearing blue, you know what is going to come your way in the comments, right?
But I'm not saying that they're winning. I think they are in with a good chance, which any good team will be hoping to do that. I think they do have a fairly settled squad in terms of roles, but I think some game time, some fitness, and slight form issues are there to hamper them. And very keen to see which all-rounder they pick from that lottery or the bag of tricks that they have. अच्छा आग बंद करके okay, आज turn is okay, today green, okay, today this guy. So that is the one thing that I'm keen to see, because it will be important to get that right. I know George Bailey is very big on Maxwell being the frontline spinner, and yes, India gave him 4, but I'm hoping that we don't make a Moeen Ali out of him. And by we, I mean all the 10 teams that are playing. Though I will not mind it from a fantasy point of view, but I think there are areas to target Australia, and that's where I'm looking at. Not Stark. We saw what our Stark did yesterday, so I'm not putting any jinxes on Stark.
No, not at all. When none of us are, especially after me being the RCB fans in India. But look here, it's almost like they have such a big pack of cards, and they have to shuffle them in the right order. It's almost, how are you going to see their team shape up? Because we'll come to your 11, but I want to, of course, put up the squad and how you're going to bring everyone in to the scheme of things.
Yeah, so as you can see, few last minute changes. There is no Ashton Travis Head is there, but probably not available for the first half of the tournament. Apart from that, you see enough quality, you see enough experience in the squad, and you feel that a lot of bases are covered. Having said that, if you look at the batters, there is one similarity that you will find with Delhi Capitals, that uh, the preferred position to bat for many of them is in the top 3. Though they've made it work somehow, which is why I felt that Travis Head's injury could actually turn out to be a blessing in disguise for them, because that allows Mitchell Marsh to open. And what worked out for them was that Marnus got some runs in South Africa, and he scored a few runs versus India as well. So him being at 4 actually helps them to have at least one batter, one batter who was out of position, batting at his best position. A lot, I feel, eventually is going to depend upon how Maxwell fares, because the top 4 seems sorted. There have been question marks on David Warner since the time he's come back from the ban, that okay, maybe he's losing his touch, he's not as good against pace. But it so happens with David Warner that whenever you start having doubts on him, he turns it around and score runs. Even though in this IPL he had scored runs, I felt he wasn't batting at his best. But the last few matches that he's played, the India ODIs and the South Africa ODIs, he's batting as well as he could have. And again, going back to that Travis Head injury, I think with also Warner getting those runs and Marnus coming back to form, that one experiment that they tried in that Chennai ODI, where Warner was batting at 4, which I felt wasn't something that was completely out of the blue. It had some merit to it because Warner has played a lot on Indian pitches. He's probably one amongst their best batters when it comes to playing spin. So there was merit in it. But I feel now with Marner scoring runs and Warner back to being his best, that top four is sorted to a large extent. But my worry is that middle order. Uh, Regardless of what format Australia play, whether it's
In
Test cricket.
fact, you allude to the middle order. We'll bring it up right now because, of course, it makes you think about Gurkirat's predicted 11. He's, of course, going to be doing the SWOT analysis for Australia as well. And he keeps saying about the top four is pretty much settled. The middle order is his worry. So continue with your points, Gurkirat, before we, of course, touch base on the fixtures with Akshay.
Yeah, so Maxwell's coming after a layoff, and he only played that one game. And with Agar's injury, I think now Australia need Maxwell's bowling a lot more than his batting, because they haven't selected any other spinner, so they will expect Maxwell to chip in with the ball, and he can because he's been bowling a lot of overs for them. Last year in Sri Lanka when they played that 5-match ODI series, Maxwell was bowling 8 to 10 overs. So I think the idea from then was to get as many overs out of Maxwell so that they could have that extra bowling option. Uh, I do feel that somewhere Maxwell has that potential to do an encore of what Yuvraj Singh did for India in 2011. Definitely a better bowler going into the tournament, but his batting would remain a key too because he's not played a lot of ODI cricket in the lead up to the World Cup. Now coming to Carey and Stoinis has not scored a 50 since March 2019, if I'm not wrong. Now that is a huge worry, and the other option that they could have gone for is Cameron Green, but Cameron Green's also not scoring enough runs. Last year he did have a good year with the bat, but this year he's not scored runs, and bowling wise he's not better than Stoinis. Plus Stoinis has that experience factor, and we have seen teams prefer experience when they're confused or when they're not sure what is going to work out. So I feel Australia will also go the same way. So Carey at 6, Stoinis at 7. Maybe there could be a switch between Carey or Maxwell depending upon what the situation is. But Carey also has not scored a lot of runs in recent times. They have Josh Inglis as a backup. I feel that if Australia don't start off well and they lose a couple of games with Carey also not scoring runs, there is a possibility that Inglis could come in. The last four coming Stark, Zampa, and Hazelwood, they select themselves. I don't think, now with Agar out, there is a possibility of one of those three pacers missing out. Maybe if Agar was there, uh, Hazelwood could have missed out because there's no way Stark is missing out, and Cummins is the captain. So I feel this is going to be the 11 that they go in with on the 8th of October.
Okay, that's given me good enough time to put an Instagram story out as well. And I was peering into, of course, your selections, and it's a riveting call that. And a lot of people in the comments agreeing with you, disagreeing with you, and we'll pick the bones about it. So don't worry, Satvik Agarwal, Our Earth is Best, Sanjay Papyagiri, Ankar Biswa, Santosh Urapal. Good to see all of y'all. And Sunny P as well is back. I don't know where he's back from, but we, of course, will cater to your comments as well. All you guys watching this for the first time, like I said, please like and subscribe because we're about 40 odd people from reaching 36k, and like Gurkirat said in the show yesterday, 36 is a funny number. Speaking of fixtures though, because I alluded to Akshay and he's been patiently waiting in the wings, Australia, they of course start their campaign at Chennai, like I said, against India, and then of course they face South Africa and Sri Lanka at Lucknow. Happy as an Australian fan looking at these fixtures, Akshay? I mean, by no means you're an Australian fan, but would they be kind of chomping?
I was going to ask that. So am I now?
Yes, you are the guy from down under, right?
निखिल भाई, मुझे लगा कम से कम आप मेरी तरफ हो गए यार.
Well played, honestly.
ये तो भाई नहीं.
Go on.
अभी क्या go on ग्राफिक तो लगाओ भाई, कहाँ से go on fixture? ये सही है भाई. Anyways, yeah, but not that I am an Australian fan, but sure, I'll try to put myself in their shoes and understand how are they placed in terms of fixtures, and I'd say it's not really something to be too happy about, but at the same time I wouldn't be too worried about it. Lucknow relayed surface, so we're still unsure of what to expect from it, so I'll sort of not comment too much on it. playing in India and Chennai will definitely be difficult, but we'll also have to understand that this will be the first game played in this venue, so it'll still be fresh. So don't expect it to be extremely spin friendly like we saw in the latter half of IPL. If anything, probably the games that we saw in the first half of IPL would be a better indication of what we might see in this game as well. If you remember, Chennai had 200 plus scores in the first 3 games in the IPL as well. So I mean, don't be surprised if that's the case this time as well. Australia are extremely, they have a very good batting lineup, and so do India. So expect a high scoring affair there. And at the same time, in terms of their spin reserves, given, like Gurkirat Paji mentioned, like Nikhil Bhai also mentioned, given the absence of Ashton Agar, they definitely are a spinner shot. It'll be very difficult to see how Maxwell can bowl 10 overs day in and day out. If not 10, he'll at least be expected to bowl 6 to 8 overs. At venues like Ahmedabad, Dharamshala, it won't be easy. So they play Netherlands in Delhi. So that was Delhi was one of the other slow surfaces, so to say. The fact that they're playing Netherlands almost negates that disadvantage. Netherlands themselves have been extremely inept against playing spin, something we discussed yesterday as well. So yeah, all in all, I would say they're playing England in Ahmedabad, they're playing New Zealand in Dharamshala, they're playing India in Chennai. These are the major games that they had to look at, and South Africa and Lucknow, of course. New Zealand, Dharamshala, it'll be a day game, 10:30 a.m. start. Whoever wins the toss, personally speaking, I feel it'll be a win the toss, win the game situation there. If you bowl first, whoever bowls first would want to make use of that first half an hour, first start with the new ball, with the conditions available there. So that'll be a very, very, very exciting game to watch. But yeah, all in all, I'd be fairly neutral.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just feel a 10:30 a.m. start sort of negates the early swing. It's because usually when test matches start in India, it's 9:30 a.m. where we are looking at that swing in the first hour. But a 10:30 a.m. Start sort of negates that, I feel, to some extent.
But
But
that's also because of the altitude where Dharamshala is. I don't think that 9:30-10 will have as much a difference as may
Yeah,
say a Bombay
that's also
or
true.
a Bangalore or a Chennai maybe.
true,
Yeah.
because the India Sri Lanka games and all that happened in 2017, that was also a 10:30
Yeah.
start from what I remember. So
Yeah.
अगर India के साथ हो सकता है, तो Australia, New Zealand both have fantastic new ball
Yeah,
bowlers. So yeah.
that altitude point is correct. I missed that.
For sure. We're going to, of course, show you Gurkirat's SWOT analysis and show you exactly the strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats for the 5-time champions, is it? 6-time? I
Yep.
keep getting confused. They've won so
Five
many. 5 times it is.
Right.
Meanwhile, Just Cricket, sorry, Akshay, he asks you, do you ever leave your room? Honestly. I mean, he goes places. If you know, you know. Robin saying, hi, lads. Hope you're well. Hope to see you guys more often in the chat, of course. Lots of good questions coming through, which I want to give some to Nikhil right now. And first and foremost, ask him if he agrees with Gurkirat's Australia's predicted 11, because the bone in contention, in my point of view, is that Cameron Green, Marcus Stoinis bit. Are you sitting in the Stoinis team or in the Green team?
No, for now I am in the Stoinis team because I feel again the opportunity to use him elsewhere is better in terms of you can use him up top as well and slip him up in the middle overs depending on the conditions. With Green, I think he's still learning the tricks of the trade. So I feel in that sense Stoinis is better place to start. Though the numbers and the 50 bit is something that you can't control. I think this is the lineup that we'll mostly see. I'm just keen to see whether there is a case anytime that they not play one of Hazelwood or Stark. Stark should any which ways mostly play because I think they'll have to figure a way out to get those wickets regularly because at this point of time, if you look at their attack, there's just one guy who I'm actually worried about running through me as a ODI side. Cummins has blown hot and cold. Zampa has had good days. He's in good form. But then you can maneuver that attack better if you are planning to attack Stoinis and Maxwell. So I think that is something that I'm keen to see how teams go about that. And the first 3 games that they play in Chennai and Lucknow, if conditions are such that there is slight grip, then I'm keen to see how people target their bowling attack because again their batting is also such that they would like to keep going at a rate. That's what we've seen in the recent times. So whether they keep doing it or there is a change or something like that. And as Abbas says, when Head comes in, I don't know if Labuschagne will be the guy who goes out because as much I want to play Green, I think he's wasted down the order because he's the guy who at times is taking time and I don't know whether they'll always have that liberty to give him that time. So maybe, I don't know, very early, but Green could be a replacement for Marsh if they feel that Marsh gets injured. Marsh bowled 5 overs or sorts of yesterday, which is a good sign for them, because then what I was talking about, that into the deck holding into Lucknow and Chennai, that is something Marsh will benefit and take a 2-3 for happily when he is fit to bowl.
I'm sure the numbers will suggest something that Gurkirath is chalked up. But before we just go to that SWOT graphic, Akshay, I want to ask you a question that our friend Santosh asked us, and it makes you think: what kind of cricket will they play? We saw them how they went about their business in South Africa. It was kind of kamikaze cricket, and if they bat first, they're targeting 375, 380, and they have the firepower to do that. But in a World Cup, do you think they'll be more suited to defend the total than chase?
Again, it'll also have a lot to do with the surfaces they'll be playing on. So I don't think they'll have just a one size fits all approach. Ki irrespective of conditions, irrespective of the opposition, they'll do that. But definitely, right now, batting seems to be their strongest suit. In that, their batters are more informed than their bowlers are. So skill wise, I wouldn't really comment. All of them, like they really have a top notch unit. But yeah, in terms of current form, Warner, Labuschagne, Smith, Marsh, all of them have been amongst the runs in the recent past. So that's good signs for them. So they would look to outbat the opposition as much as possible. But yeah, it's hard to say that they're better off defending or better off chasing, because agar Chennai jaise surface mein, if the surface starts to crumble, then they won't be able to chase irrespective of how good the unit is or whoever it is. So yeah, it'll be difficult to just say it one way or the other.
Okay, let's move on to that strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats chart, because it is, of course, going to tell you a lot. And Gurkirath, you can take over, please.
Do we have a classic?
Yes,
Yeah, we have a
mute pe
classic.
Gurkirath bhai.
He's on mute, as usual.
Yeah, so joined second best after England on run rate, best run rate against pace. No surprises there when you have Marsh, when you have Smith. Uh, when I mean, you look at all those batters, you will not be surprised at that run rate versus pace. There's a lot of skill against pace. Solid at the top, highest run rate at 6, and second best average 40.6 after India. Again, not surprising. Best bowling average in balls per wicket record for a spin unit. Now, this is something which probably a decade ago you would have been surprised with, like Australia having the best bowling average and strike rate for a spin unit. But now, with given how Zampa has gone, given how other spinners, there's been Kuhneman playing for some time, there's Agar, and then Maxwell chipping in with overs, there's Travis Head. You know that this is a believable stat, and this is not as surprising in recent times. Opportunities, quite a few all-round options, as Nikhil alluded to, that it could really depend upon who they feel is the guy on that given day. Ample batting depth, again, not surprising given Mitchell Stark is going to bat at 9. Favorable scheduling to ensure semi-final spot despite Agar's injury, and yeah, that's again true, as we saw that fixtures list, and have played 6 ODIs in India in the past 6 months. Apart from that, you look at that 11 and you look at that squad, that almost all of them have played enough IPL across venues to know how pitches will behave. So there is literally going to be no surprise for Australia in terms of how pitches are going to behave. A lot of teams will not have played at Lucknow, but almost all Aussie cricketers have played there, so they will know how pitches are going to behave. Weaknesses, second lowest balls per wicket record against spin, 36.6 after Netherlands. Second lowest balls per wicket record in overs, 11 to 40 after Netherlands, 34.8. Third lowest bowling average and balls per wicket records in overs 1 to 10 after South Africa and Netherlands. Now, this more or less tells you how they've struggled for wickets in the first power play. But again, not sure how much can be read into this, given Australia have not often played their first 11. And third most expensive bowling unit at the death, 7.8 after Netherlands and England. Not surprising at all, because if you look at the Australian pacers, none of them are known to be very good at death. Threat is too many injury concerns. Head ruled out for at least half the games. Agar ruled out and spin unit takes a hit. This is something we have discussed. Stark coming out of a layoff. He's the bowling spearhead. If yesterday's practice game or warm up game is anything to go by, that Stark bit is not going to bother Australia a lot. But in the weaknesses bit, there was something about how the batting has fared against spin. Again, that is not very surprising because if you looked at Labuschagne, you've looked at Carey, if you looked at Stoinis, playing spin isn't their preferred, bowling attack. All of them like pace on the ball, which is why again, someone like Maxwell becomes even more important in the middle order. Had Maxwell not been available, I would have said that Australia making the semis could be a huge question mark because he's really someone who can, take on that spin bowling or hit spinners out of the attack in the middle overs. He may not be as consistent as what Klaasen has been in recent times, but he surely has that skill to do that. Wherein, on his day, he could really make opposition captains go clueless about what bowlers to bowl and clueless about their plans. So, Maxwell at five, with the bat and him as a part-timer bowler or a sixth bowling option is so important for Australia. Maxwell has a bad tournament. Australia might just barely scrape into the semis. But if Maxwell has a good tournament, that could really be the difference between Australia going the distance and missing out. Because all the things that you look at that middle order and everyone else not scoring runs, or you look at there being no second spinner, the value that Maxwell is going to bring into this team. Him having a bad tournament would really, upset a lot of plans for the Australian cricket team.
Okay, I mean, it was a well depicted graphic then. Shout out to Somesh Agarwal, of course, for throwing his insights on that. And before we slip into our predictions and, of course, reckon where Australia will finish and the MVP, I just want to ask Akshay and Nikhil this one because it makes you think even about their death bowling and if particularly Adam Zampa can be used in the death because apparently he's a brilliant T20 bowler too. And I don't like the sound of it, but numbers might suggest so. Boys?
This could work out because, like we have seen in recent ODI games, that pitches have become slower and it's become a little difficult to hit even with the two new balls. So if there is grip on offer, maybe Zampa can work. But if you expect Zampa to bowl five in the last 10, then that is asking too much. Maybe you could slip in or use 2 overs of his between overs 41 to 45, or maybe get one in the last five. But more than 3 overs for any bowler in the last 10 is difficult, even more so for a spinner. What could help is again, last 10 overs having five fielders outside the circle, which is not a luxury that bowlers have in the first 40 overs.
Okay, you guys agree with them? Akshay?
This is something, in fact, Nikhil Bhai and I have spoken about during multiple reviews, previews, and Monday Night Lives. Zampa's definitely been good. Expect him to have 2 to 3 overs. And yeah, like Gurkirat said, to be honest, not just Zampa, I don't think any bowler would be bowling five at the death. At best, like even the likes of Bumrah would bowl three. I'm expecting Zampa also to do the same because he was good both in the South Africa series and the India series. And we even sort of likened to how Kuldeep could potentially also be used that way. So we'll talk more on that later when India's turn does come. So yeah, I do like that.
Fair enough. Hope Maxi of Kings 11 Punjab 2020 season turns up in the World Cup. And speaking of Kings 11 Punjab, just cricket going on to say, as a Kings 11 Punjab fan, I hope Maxwell brings his 2020 IPL form and Aussies are out in the group stage. Jesus. All the IPL references continue because, of course, Pranav Anand chooses Nick Pope over Mo Bobat. And yeah, maybe they should have actually appointed Nikhil instead of Mo. They would have at least saved in terms of.
By the way, there's an
logistical costs.
accusation on Avnish. Abhas goes on to say, comment ignore कर देते हो क्या हो रहा है भाई? क्या चल
That's
रहा है
on
आपके
me.
राज में?
That's on me. I've taken everything of, I mean, every Abbas's comment. Which
Who
one have I
else
missed?
could it
mate?
possibly be? तू ही है भाई जो comment देख रहा है
All of
और
you guys are, all of you guys have this thing. So, Abbas, tell me which one is it? I've literally taken absolutely everything. Is this the one that you were talking about, Abbas?
compensate करने के लिए सब कुछ दिखा दिया अभी पता भी
Is this
नहीं.
the one that you're talking about, Abbas? I mean, let me know. I mean, honestly, all you guys as well, watching this, feel free to let us know what your thoughts about Australia are heading into the World Cup because everyone's blindly saying India, Australia, and England. We spoke about England yesterday. We'll speak about India in a bit. But Australia, do you really reckon if they can go on and get it done? Some certainly think so. Let's just finish up then with the predictions and MVP. Where will they finish, boys? Nikhil, I'll start with you here. MVP first and then where they'll end up finishing.
So MVP, I think it's very hard to look beyond Glenn Maxwell. He's going to be the guy who's going to save the spin department with his overs everywhere. No matchup tension with him. He can bowl to anyone, anywhere, at any point of time. And then with the bat, I think we all know what he did in the 2015 one when Australia had a great run. And you at times you feared him coming in because that was how good a form and touch he was in. So I think
Yeah.
again the one thing that I think Australia will favor a lot, as Paji also pointed out, is a lot of experience in these conditions. Not a lot of teams have had a lot of people play in these conditions and know them. So everybody will have the intel, but just being there and having done that for a considerable period of time may help Maxwell also be able to adjust his lens and have those good batting knocks. So MVP Maxwell, he comes good. They finish top four. If the bowling doesn't work out, only then they'll slip out of top four. But I think they should finish top four and Glenn Maxwell as the MVP.
Okay, Akshay, Maxwell for you as well.
He was again has nothing to do with a certain red jersey that he dons 6 months, from now. But yeah. Uske alawa, but since Maxwell's already been mentioned, I would also take a few more names who could be very key to Australia's plans if they want to make the World Cup knockout stages at least. Mitchell Marsh would be a name that ranks high on top of my list. Again, just like why I mentioned Johnny Bairstow would be key to England's plans. Mitchell Marsh will be playing a similar role right up top, and he's been in great form. He's also shown that he can length so hard length so kuch bhi ho, he can demolish it. On his day, if the surface is good enough, he's going to go hard. And given that Warner now is also in good form, he's also striking well. Expect them to have really, really good, strong power plays, and expect Marsh to play a key role in ensuring that happens. So yeah, Marsh would be my MVP. And where would they finish? Top 4 for sure. उसके बाद क्या होगा वो तो भाई. Yeah.
Okay. Gurkirat, final words from you. By the way, astrologer Sumit Bajaj, I will take your comment when we're discussing India. I promise you, you don't have to heckle us in the chat. Just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. Don't do that because the others will get lost, of course. And by the way, cricket.com, I agree with you. So I'll go first in terms of telling you about MVP, and then Gurkirat can have the final say. Like I said, I think it will be Adam Zampa, and I think because there's no Agar, lots more responsibility in him. And I think he's the kind of guy who'll relish the challenge. He'll embrace it. And I also know, fun fact, my friend Pranoy Tipaya, because he has a coffee brand, Kerry Haklu, and Adam Zampa has hit him up for all the coffee for this World Cup. So that's going to be interesting to see if there's a little bit of a magic portion from Pranoy and the lot. Right, Gurkirat, I'm thinking Adam Zampa as my MVP and Australia top 4. I think I'm safe with that bet. Do you agree with me, my friend? Or do you have something up your sleeve?
Partially, I agree. Top 4, yes. But for me to pick anyone else but Maxwell as a MVP player would be unfair given how much I spoke about Maxwell. So yeah, I mean, hard to look beyond Maxwell given the amount of roles and responsibilities are going to fall on his shoulders, and how he's the glue. He's literally the glue in that side. Uh, Whether it comes to taking on spin bowling, because when it comes to taking on spin bowling, they have two batters. One is Warner, the other is Maxwell, who could really take a batswinners. Everyone else, okay, Smith is there, but you don't expect Smith to straight away hit the spinners out of the attack. He will be sort of the anchor who will change gears according to the situation once he's got his eye in. But the other two, you would really expect them to take on spinners and hit them out of the attack as much as possible and make things easier for them. Mitchell Marsh is very good against pace, but he has shown his struggles whenever spinners have come on, and many times he struggled to pick crisp spinners from the hand. So there's that. And you could sort of say that for the other batters in terms of Carey and Stoinis as well, even though Stoinis has improved a little bit. But really, I mean, it's difficult for me to look beyond anyone but Maxwell as the MVP. And yeah, so on with Nikhil over there, like how he said, very difficult to look past Maxwell.
Okay, let us know in the comments, of course, what you guys feel about Australia and whether they can actually make the top 4, and if it's just a given because the brand of cricket they've been playing off late makes you think so. But we've seen strange things happen in cricket, so the Australians could bring a surprise again.